Hello, beautiful people. Today is 22nd of June. My name is Sahil and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Friends, she's Nehla Walji, the senior gender advisor at the United Nations. She says that our formal economy is only possible because it is subsidized by women's unpaid work. So, guys, this particular quote becomes very much important when we recognize the asymmetries into the labor sector in not only India but into the entire world. Because many a times women are involved into the caregiving, into the household domestic responsibilities, and they are neither accounted into the calculation of the GDP nor they are recognized as a hard work by their male counterparts. We tend to forget that because of their efforts into our domestic labor work, the people are able to perform onto the forefronts into the external job responsibilities. So, guys, this happens to be a very powerful quote. You can use it into the GS paper number 1 society as well as gender related and women related issues in GS paper number 2 social justice, as well as if an essay comes on to the women issues as it has came in 2016. And friends, yesterday it was Sunday, so there was no mains question. So we'll not be discussing the mains framework. And now let's take up the newspaper analysis. Now, friends, first let's take up the overview of the entire paper. So here you can see that the escalation at LAC, the political issues have been mentioned, but frankly, they are not important for our exam. Now, guys, here at the below, the Supreme Court has given one important observation, so we will discuss that what is given here. Then, guys, with respect to the science and tech, one important angle we'll be seeing here. Then, moving forward, again, you can see that the COVID and robbing, killing, all these things are there, not important for our exam. So, guys, finally, we will be going to the editorial section. Now, this side editorial discusses the PM's remark onto the LAC, which had led into a political escalation, not important for exam. However, here the India's foreign policy with respect to the China has been given. So we'll see what could be important. Now, fighting a double pandemic, women-related article, we'll see this thing. Then this article discusses the situation going on into the Rajya Sabha. So with respect to the exam, we'll see what has been given. Now, guys, this particular article talks about the mask use policy which has been propagated by WHO from time to time. Actually, substance is not there, not required for the UPSC exam. Then, guys, again here, with respect to the foreign policy, we'll see certain matters. Then, moving forward, again, UPSC relevant news have not been there. However, we will see that how the closure of oil wells could be actually problematic. Then, guys, again, we will see the Jal Jeevan mission here. Then, moving forward, again, much important news have not been given. Education Plus, no important UPSC relevant articles. Showcase page, not important. Then, guys, onto the world page also, you can see that only COVID, terror attacks, and all these kind of things have been discussed, not important for exam. Today, there is no economy page. Money wise have came, not important for the exam. And onto the last page, we will see this particular Golden Langur issue. And now let's take up the detailed newspaper analysis. So, friends, into the first news, here we can see that an important ruling has been given by the Supreme Court, which says that the secrecy of a ballot is key to fair and free elections. Now, guys, before going into this particular news item, let's see certain basic background information. Now, this particular judgment comes into the background of elections at the panchayat level, which were held into the Uttar Pradesh. Now, guys, what happened in 2018? There was voting going on for the no confidence motion against the chairman of the Jila Panchayat in the state of UP. Now, friends, we know that if the motion has to be passed, then there needs to be voting. Now, one more thing is there. Section 94 of the Representation of People Act 1951. Here, the voter has been given the right to secrecy, that he can secretly give the vote and is not required to show that to whom he has given the vote. Now it is being said that when this no confidence motion was being passed, at that point of time, certain members indicated or had shown their ballot papers as in which direction they are voting. So it has been said that this no confidence motion should be held as invalid because the right to secrecy was not upheld or not maintained here. Now, guys, for that particular thing, the petition was made into the Allahabad High Court, and Allahabad High Court said that this no confidence motion voting was invalid. Then, in this particular response, again appeal was made to the Supreme Court of India. And here now the Supreme Court has said this thing that the free and fair election depends on to the secrecy, because if the secrecy will not be given, then there could be some pressure due to which the voter might not be able to contest a free choice. So therefore secrecy is very much crucial. But at the same time, Supreme Court also said that he is not always bound by the secrecy. If he wants, he can waive off his secrecy. So guys, here we can see that it has been said that a voter can also voluntarily waive the privilege of non disclosure. So in sum total, it means that the voter has a right that if he want, he can exercise the secrecy. If he doesn't want, he may not exercise. But you cannot say that because he has not exercised his secrecy, the elections will be invalid. So guys, the High Court's direction that the elections will be invalid is not correct here. But at the same time, Supreme Court has also said that the motion which was passed in 2018 should be again put to vote now because so much time has passed in between. Therefore, please keep all this matter into mind, including the section number 94 of RPA, as directly RPA has been given in GS paper number 2. So that's all. Now we'll move to next. Now, friends, here the traffic violations are on rise. We don't need to see that how many people have been challaned and how much fine has been imposed onto them. But guys, there is one important observation based issue. See, you might have seen this equipment on the road or such kind of thing is also many times fitted into the police PCR van, and this particular equipment is called as speed interceptor. So here if a speeding vehicle is approaching, they can tell that what is the speed, and if it is over the permissible limit, then the vehicle could be fined. But have you ever wondered that what is the mechanism or principle used into this equipment? And if yes, then the answer to this thing is the Doppler effect. Now, guys, not the bookish language, but into the simple terms, Doppler effect shows that when there are two things, one is an observer and other is a moving object. So there will be some difference into the frequency when this moving object will be coming near to an observer, and when it will pass, again there will be change in some frequency. For example, you have seen when an ambulance is approaching near you, you hear more louder and louder noise, and when it passes the noise becomes less. So guys, that change in frequency of a moving vehicle is showed by the Doppler effect. I know that is a little bit tricky, but guys, we'll simplify this thing. So what happens, suppose here is an interceptor machine, and here we have an approaching vehicle which is speeding. So guys, from this interceptor a narrow beam will be transmitted, and when this beam will hit this particular object, it will be reflected back. Now, guys, this particular equipment calculates the frequency of the returning waves. Now, guys, because the car is moving towards the machine, the frequency of the returning wave will be higher than what was the frequency when it was initially transmitted towards this object. And now, higher the speed of the car, proportionately higher will be the speed of the returning frequency. And now a computer here will calculate the difference between the frequency which was initially projected and the frequency which has now been received, and onto the basis of that difference the speed of the car will be calculated. Moreover, this equipment is also fitted with a camera which takes the picture onto the real time basis, geotags it, prints the time, prints the speed, and all that kind of thing, which can be used later word as a proof. So guys, please keep all these things into your mind, because into the prelims the science question comes onto the observation only. For example, the question on ball bearing, so there could be a probable question on these lines also. So that's all, and now we'll move to next. Now, friends, we are into the editorial section, and here I am clubbing two editorials that are onto the Chinese policy with respect to the domination in India. Now, guys, this big one article discusses that how the government during 1962 failed to perceive China as a threat, and as a consequence, war followed. However, this particular article on the second page of editorial talks as how presently the government is not able to understand the Chinese policies and exactly why China is holding a particular position. What could be the reasons behind that particular thing? So, friends, this first article is more of a past, whereas this second article is more of a present. Now, friends, history has taught us a lesson. Whenever we keep in mind that we have two adversaries, on one hand there is Pakistan and on one other hand there is China, we had given a proportionate response. However, whenever we forget about the two enemies, we had taken a kind of a hit onto the face. Now, taking the example in 1962, what happened? India had never thought that China will be attacking India and had always considered Pakistan as a threat, and the entire army line was deployed onto the face of Pakistan. The China took the advantage and the war of 1962 was concluded. However, if we see the example of 1971, at that point of time government was much more prepared and was aware of the fact that there will be the adversaries from two sides, on one hand Pakistan and on another hand China. So guys, what we did, on to the one hand we are fighting actively with the Pakistan, and on to the other hand to counter the China, the government started the Indo-Soviet Friendship Treaty in 1971, and a deterrent as the USSR came in between, the China was deterred and India decisively gained the victory here. Now talking more about the 1962 position. So guys, what happened? The relations between India and China started on a good note in 1954 when the Nehru gave the Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai slogan and the Panchsheel agreement between the both the countries were signed. Now, friends, if you remember, just 2 3 days back, we had discussed one editorial in which we had discussed the Chinese theory of palm and fingers, in which it was said that the Tibet is the palm, whereas there are five fingers, which is the Nepal, Bhutan, Ladakh, Sikkim, and finally the Northeastern Frontier Agency. And always from very start, China wanted to capture all of them. And guys, it started with the Tibet, and Tibet was made the part of China. And in response, in 1959, Dalai Lama flew from Tibet and came to India. India gave asylum to Dalai Lama, and from there, relations started to come on a downward trajectory. Now, guys, during this particular time, everybody was warning the Nehru as well as the defense minister Krishna Menon that they should be careful of the China, but they undermined China as an adversary because both of them were under an impression that Hindi Chini are bhai bhai. They believed that adversary for India is not China, rather it is Pakistan. And at that time, Chief of Army Staff, that is General P.N. Thapar, also indicated to the government that they lack the capabilities if China attacked onto the entire boundary of India and China, and therefore they should beef up the security infrastructure. But again, possibility of attack was undermined, and guys, finally on October 20, 1962, Chinese attack into the northern sector. They attack onto the Galwan Valley up to the Daulat Beg Oldie, and into the eastern sector they attacked the Northeastern Frontier Agency, and there the subdivisions of Kameng, Lohit, Subansiri, etc. were brutally attacked. So, guys, there was a kind of an idealism which could be noted here in 1962. Now, the government of 1962 could be called as naive, could be called as unprepared because it was first for them. But cutting back to 2020, present day's government cannot call if any misadventure happen in China as a kind of a naivety. Why? Because right now they have an experience of 1962, but government is not looking and is again undermining the China. Now, guys, the series of problems started in 2019 when, for the first time, government, without keeping in repercussions, changed the status of Jammu and Kashmir by the J&K Reorganization Act of 2019. Then, guys, after that, again, the Home Minister gave statements into the Parliament that the Aksai Chin will be taken back from the China, and we again undermined that China will react strategically to such a statement. And now the attack which has been made into the LSE could be a response to such kind of position. Why? Because guys, Aksai Chin is very much sensitive to the China because of the geostrategic purpose, that is the China Pakistan economic corridor and Belt and Road Initiative, for which Aksai Chin along with the Pakistan occupied Kashmir is very much important. And guys, any statement on this particular line will be taken up very seriously by the China. So guys, again repeating what happened in 1962, that out of trust China was undermined, and 2020 out of self pride, out of nationalism, China is being undermined. And guys, the result in LAC could be very much visible right now. Now the issue comes that by doing the actions in LAC, what actually China is intending to do, or what China is trying to show. So very clearly here China has four strategic goal. Goal number 1, China is showing that India and China are not equal, and from time to time China comes into arm twisting. For example, in 2013 Despang, in 2014 Chumar, in 2017 Doklam, and 2020 Galwan Valley. So China is trying to show that the position of equality is not there, and China has much more tactical advantages. Secondly, China is giving signal to India that India should not oppose any Chinese activities into the Indo-Pacific. For example, India should not take any position onto the South China Sea, should not ask any question onto the origin of the virus, should not align with the USA, Japan, and Australia to form the Quad grouping, because it can undermine the Chinese position into the Indo Pacific. Thirdly, all these things are being done so that India is preoccupied in its neighborhood, and India does not claim any important leadership position at the global scale. And fourthly, guys, China is doing all this thing to win back the confidence of to the Pakistan, and to help Pakistan economically as well as militarily, because into the future time, whenever the full-fledged response against India is to be given, at that point of time China needs Pakistan. So it is just an appeasement to the Pakistan also. So now finally a fundamental question comes, that what should be the way forward, or what should be done by India. So now guys, here the only possibility is the diplomatic card, because onto the military and onto the tactical fronts there will be the huge cost for India, for which India is right now not prepared, because you know what crises are going on. So here India needs very carefully crafted economic as well as diplomatic policies which can neutralize China's economic, diplomatic, as well as military clout into the Asia Pacific region. Moreover, at the same time, India should be very careful that it does not appear as the puppet of the West, and it is only acting in its own self interest. Because, friends, there have earlier been reports that China construes India as a stage for the USA's interest directed towards the China. So here this thing is very much crucial, because anyhow India also needs to preserve its sovereignty as well as its autonomy with respect to the foreign policy. So guys, this is the entire comprehensive coverage with respect to the China India issue that is going right now. I hope you have understood this, and now we'll move to next. Now, friends, this particular editorial talks about the position with respect to the Rajya Sabha. So, guys, you know that the Rajya Sabha works onto the principle where after every second year, one third of member retire and the new member comes. So, guys, recently there were 61 vacancies into the Rajya Sabha, and out of these, 42 vacancies were filled unopposed, because simply there were no contenders. And right now the elections for 19 Rajya Sabha seats occurred onto the Friday, in which onto the majority of seats the ruling government of BJP got the power. And if we talk about the present tally into the Rajya Sabha, so guys, here BJP has very high number of seats, and such high number has not been reached into the earlier times. Now, guys, when we are talking about high numbers in Rajya Sabha, you know that a particular trend is going right now, where strategically MLAs of a particular state where Rajya Sabha elections have to be held, they are lured, they are attracted, they are given some financial incentives, all that. Why? So that they can vote favorably into the Rajya Sabha elections that were to be held. And in such way, such high tallies are now being reached by some specific political parties. But a question comes, then why it is a problem? Let them have more seats. It will only be bringing the stability at the end of the day. But guys, this is the oversimplification of a much more complex issue which is going on. See, in 1950, when our constitution came in force, at that point of time, parliament was considered to be a bicameral legislature with Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha as the two distinct houses. And guys, the Rajya Sabha was only adopted so that it can act as a constructive criticisms to the government of the ruling party. It was meant to create an obstruction so that hasty legislation, ill conceived legislations are not passed. Moreover, guys, Rajya Sabha was also created to be a house where the members with wisdom, with expertise can come, which either can't fight the Lok Sabha elections. But both the purposes have been defeated. Guys, if one ruling party will also have the majority in Rajya Sabha, the constructive criticism will go away. And secondly, we had seen that the celebrities and the business tycoons are coming into the house, and due to this particular thing, much needed expertise and wisdom is also not coming. So there is a bigger crisis which is going on Rajya Sabha, and therefore we only needs a political restraint, a political will, and a political ethics, so that the scenario can be rectified and parliament can uphold the constitutional role for which it was meant. So guys, here the issue is more of a philosophical or about the constitutional morality that needs to be avoided. So guys, that's all, and now we'll move to next. Guys, this particular editorial talks about the gender injustices and the domestic violence that is being faced by the women during the time of pandemic. Friends, according to the UN Women, whenever a crisis comes, the major sufferers are the women. For example, in 2014, during the Ebola virus outbreak, the major sufferers were the women, and into the West Africa, nearly 60% deaths were of the women. Similarly, secondly, seeing into the Canterbury earthquake which came into the New Zealand, there was a 53% rise into the domestic violence against the women. Thirdly, when we see that the migration into towards the Mediterranean and into the West Asia is going on, there also the violence, the sexual assault, rape, etc. of the women has increased drastically. And now, cutting short to 2020, it has been seen that during the time of the lockdown and during the time of pandemic, the distress call by women to the helpline has increased anywhere by 25% to 300%. Moreover, guys, internet searches with respect to the domestic violence have also increased drastically. So clearly, women are facing a kind of a double pandemic. Now, guys, let's explore why it is a double pandemic for women. Number one, see, there are two facts. Into the healthcare facilities, 70% of workforce into the way of nurses, into the way of a primary care provider is made up by the women. And secondly, women are also the part of unpaid labor which they are doing into the domestic duties. And guys, then secondly, due to the patriarchal nature of society, women are always subjected to the abuse and physical assault. And as the lockdown is proceeding, the male people, they are frustrated due to the insecurities of job, due to the mental frustration, and all that frustration is being vented onto the women. After that, if anyhow women themselves get infected, then they don't get accessibility to the finest healthcare due to their secondary role or subservient role into the family, which is often allocated to them. Moreover, guys, they themselves don't receive the care and compassion which they give when their male counterparts are ill or infected. After that, guys, as now the lockdown is going on and the schools and colleges are closed, it means that further learning gaps are coming for the women. And often when the online education is to be talked about, they are not given accessibility to the computer devices or to the mobile phones, because primary ownership onto these kind of devices is often considered to be of the males. Fifthly, guys, now these women are also vulnerable to the sexual exploitation early pregnancies because of the lockdown. Moreover, they can't report to their trusted teachers, as right now the colleges and schools are closed. So even their genuine moral support is also missing here. After that, guys, nobody is paying attention to one fact that as lockdown is going, there are large number of women care shelters, orphanages where women and girl are trapped, and because of the social distancing, now the volunteers, police, NGOs are not able to visit those facilities, and nobody is listening as what they are suffering there. After that, as right now even the courts are closed, they are not able to access the justice if they suffer any problem or crisis. So therefore, a concentrated and coordinated action is needed to be given to the women's crisis. And guys, in this particular direction, the Commonwealth of a Nation, which has 54 members, is actively working with the NGOs and various other forums so that the gender-based violence against the women can be reduced. And into this particular direction, the Commonwealth of Nation is working with the Organization International de la Francophonie, the Pacific Island Forum, the Council of Europe, and the Community of Spanish language countries so that a safeguard can be made for the women after the COVID-19 recovery. Moreover, guys, even more urgent attention are needed to be given on two fronts. Number one, the healthcare facilities are needed to be provided to the women so that they don't face the physical abuse and physical miseries of the pandemic. And secondly, the key is into making women financially independent, and guys, therefore government should bring the initiatives of providing dedicated funding to the MSMEs which are driven by the women forces. And after that, the countries of Commonwealth and associated interest should come together via the webinars and conferences so that how the opportunities for the empowerment of women can be created. And finally, all the member nations of Commonwealth should come together to get the implementation on ground of the United Nations Declaration on Women and COVID-19 so that domestic governments can be forced to bring the coordinated response in favor of women. And to finally sum up, guys, violence against women is not only a crime and a sociological sin, rather, it also has the economic repercussions because, according to a study conducted in Seychelles, it is believed that gender based violence leads to estimated 4.625% cost onto the GDP of a nation. So, therefore, urgent actions are needed to be taken in this particular regard. So, guys, that's it. And now we'll move to next. Now, guys, here we can see that the additional funding has been asked by the Ministry of Jal Shakti for the Jal Jeevan mission. So, we will see certain important issues here. By the way, few days ago also we had discussed the Jal Jeevan mission. So, guys, Jal Jeevan mission aims at bringing nearly 3.5 lakh crore investment into the water infrastructure in India. Now, guys, India, if we talk about facts, has nearly 16% population of the world, whereas only 4% fresh water resources are there in India. And due to this particular thing, large part of country is either water scarce or water starved, and even the Niti Aayog's water composite water index has pointed that there is severe water crisis in our country. So a kind of a Jal and Jan Andolan has been started by government, and here it has been provided that by 2024 every household will be provided the functional tap connections. Moreover, every person in rural household will be provided at least 55 liter of water per day. Now guys, obviously if we want to need provide such water, if we need to provide functional tap connections, we need the water infrastructure, and for that particular thing the infrastructure has to be built. And guys, therefore large money is needed, and in this particular direction the Jal Jeevan mission is a centrally sponsored scheme where funding pattern is 50 is to 50 for the normal category states and 90 is to 10 for the Himalayan and northeastern states. Now, guys, coming to the present news item. So, here the Ministry of Jal Shakti is saying that they have such ambitious targets, but they don't have money. Moreover, they can't ask the budgetary allocation from the center or the state because they also are the resource constrained. So, now they have make a request to the 15th Finance Commission that they should give the direct funding to the Ministry of Jal Shakti. Now, from where the 15th Finance Commission will bring the money? So it has been said that 15th Finance Commission is giving the grant to the panchayat, and a large part of these panchayati grants are to be given for the water infrastructure. But according to the Ministry of Jal Shakti, panchayats often don't properly utilize this money. So it is being said that money rather should be given by 15th Finance Commission to the Ministry of Jal Shakti, who will then give it to the panchayat for a specific kind of work and specific kind of activities. So guys, in this particular direction the tweak is being asked. Now, on to the face of it, it seems that it will bring better expertise, better functionality, and there could be the better expenditure or the use of financial resources. But secondly, it could also be an attack onto the financial autonomy of the panchayats, because their resources are being taken when the panchayats anyhow don't have any financial resources. So guys, this particular could be a full-fledged issue as well as a case study where the financial devolution might be impacted. So that's it. Now we'll go to next. Now, friends, this particular news item is given into the context of the blowout that happened into the Assam recently. So, we had discussed, moreover, you have also heard that a well into the Bagjan area in Assam blew because it was spewing gas from very long, and due to negligence, there was a blast. Now, into the aftermath of all this thing, the Pollution Control Board of Assam has said that all the wells into the region should be closed because there could be the further disaster into the times to come also. But this closure of well has been called as problematic by the Oil India Limited. They had said that after closing there will be even more blowouts. So what could be the reason? So guys, if a question comes, then the direct answer has been provided. So it has been said that the well cannot be shut overnight just as the water taps. Now friends, if we see that how the oil or the gas is tapped out from here, so you will see that the hole is drilled, and through the vertical capillary action the oil flows out. And now if we want to close, we will close this movement by the valves, but the valves don't have that much strength that they can avoid the spewing up of the oil or the gas. Rather, these valves will fail and there will be the sudden and drastic spewing of the oil and gas, which could lead to the blowout. So what we need to do, we need to keep reaping out the oil and gas into this particular region in order to avoid the disaster. So guys, the question might come that how then earlier they were trapped under? So guys, earlier there was huge pressure of soil, rock, and the upper topmost layer which made a proper barrier, but now that barrier via the valves cannot be made. So that's all. Now we'll move to next. Now, friends, here the golden langur has been mentioned, whose population is declining very much due to certain reasons. Number one, there is a practice of a feticide and infanticide, which is very much prevalent into these langurs. So, guys, whenever the male langur takes over, he either kills the baby langur or hits into the abdomen of the mother so that the forced abortion is carried. So guys, therefore their birth rate or their fertility rate is very much low. After that, between the pregnancies, these langurs maintain a gap of 2 to 3 years. So therefore their population prospects even go down. And guys, then thirdly, they are suffering from the strangulation of the wires which are being laid as the part of the infrastructure development project. And fourthly, they had suffered the significant habitat loss as the forests are being cleared for the developmental projects and all such kind of developmental activities. So guys, as a consequence, their population has drastically been reduced, and now they are one of the most endangered primates into the India. And because of this, they have been included into the appendix number 1 of the sites, into the schedule number 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act, and into the endangered category into the IUCN red list. Now guys, when we talk about the habitat of these langurs, so they are found into the small part of western Assam up to the Black Mountain region of Bhutan. Moreover, they are limited in between the region of three rivers, that is the Brahmaputra into the south, then there is Sankosh river into the west, and the Manas river into the east. So friends, there is urgent need that the government should pay the conservation efforts as how their population could be stabilized. So friends, that's all about this, and now we'll move to the question section. Friends, please pause the video and try to answer the question. So question number 1 is with respect to the National Health Mission. So please read the statements and identify the correct code. Now guys, the question number 2 is with respect to the Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority. So please read the statement and identify the correct code. Now friends, question number 3 is with respect to the Shyok River. It is a mapping question. So please read the statements and identify the correct code. So now the question number 4 is with respect to the solar eclipse which has been witnessed yesterday. So please read the question and answer the correct code. Now friends, coming to the mains question. So mains question is that women, despite of their valuable socio-economic contribution, happens to be worst sufferers during the time of crisis. Discuss as what could be the reasons of their such appalling conditions and what actions could be taken in this particular regard. So friends, please write it and submit your question for the review. I hope you are liking our discussion. Thank you so much.